So I know you've learned a lot so far, and I know this is a lot of information that's very new to many people. So I want to just take you through a few key principles that you'll need to have in your toolbox for when you decide to work on reprogramming. And then I'm going to take you through a very specific tool for reprogramming. The very first review principle here is that emotion and imagery are the languages of the subconscious. So we're going to really engage this when we want to reprogram. Then we want to be for the positive when we decide to reprogram. So if you're working on a core belief that says, I am powerless, and maybe this is a core belief that you've had driving your life for so long because maybe you felt powerless in childhood, you're not going to say, I am not powerless. You're going to say, I have control over my life, or I am empowered. And we're going to make sure that as we phrase things, we're doing that specifically. Another thing you want to know is that repetition is key along with emotion, but emotion actually is like the trump card. Like, it is going to be the strongest thing in here. An example of this would be, you may never have a belief that I am unsafe. And maybe, God forbid, let's say it's Bob. Bob gets into a car accident, and then he walks out of the car accident feeling super unsafe getting back into cars. He didn't need a lot of repetition there because the emotion was so strong in that event that it created an automatic imprint. And this is a really important thing. If you want to really create change, the more emotion you can link to the thing you're trying to create instead of that old program, in substitution of that old program, this is a really great life hack to use. The next thing is that you can reprogram at different levels. We're not going to cover this too much in this course. I'm just going to give you one key tool. But we can reprogram at the thought level. We can reprogram at the belief level. Okay? And we can reprogram our actions or behaviors. Let me give you an example. I could have a core belief, I am not good enough, but my thoughts could be, I'm not smart enough, I'm not interesting enough, and I can neutralize both of those, okay? We only really need to do the beliefs, and the thoughts will follow, and that's why we're going to focus there during this course. But it's just an important thing to recognize. If we change our thinking repetitively, then our beliefs will eventually be affected as well. It works both ways. And our actions can also be changed. So if we learn to wire a lot of positive emotion to waking up at 5 a.m. and doing a morning routine, and we feel really good about this every morning and really enriched, and we place all this positive emotion into taking those actions, we can actually make those things habitual as well without even having to work on thoughts or beliefs. So I'll tell you how to do a little bit of that. Now, when you have emotions are feedback. Emotions are literally helping you know whenever you're out of alignment. So if you start telling yourself negative stories, nobody's going to like me at the social event, I'm not good enough to make new friends or build new relationships, nobody's going to think my business is good, then you're going to start feeling badly. And that's actually like a favor of your feedback mechanism as a human being. That's actually saying, hey, you're telling yourself really negative stories. This doesn't feel good for you. And so emotions are your friends. They're giving you their feedback loop all the time, letting you know if your thoughts are out of alignment. They're also going to let you know if you have unmet needs in life, which is an important thing to keep in mind. When we're doing reprogramming, we want to use that 21-day metric, this idea that when we rinse and repeat something, we lace emotion for 21 days, this is how we've got new neural pathways firing and wiring repetitively, and old neural pathways that we have that may have once driven our lives actually atrophy over time. The first tool that I'm going to share with you is something called auto-suggestion. This is a really powerful tool. It's a great beginner tool that's super effective when it comes to reprogramming your subconscious mind. The very first principle of auto-suggestion is that we want to get into a relaxed state. We are more suggestible when we're relaxed, okay? When we're producing alpha or theta brainwaves, this is when we're really suggestible. Now, the first hour that you wake up and the last hour you go to sleep, this is when you actually are naturally producing more alpha brainwaves. Your mind is sort of slowed down, you're a little more in a state of peace or calm, and so this is a great time to practice this tool. You're also quite suggestible after a long meditation, sometimes after very intensive exercise when you're kind of in that rest state. You're also suggestible after like watching television. If you've ever tried to speak to somebody while they're watching TV and you're like, Bob, Bob, and Bob's like right there beside you or like 2 feet away from you, but he's just like so engrossed in the TV, he's not even like looking at you. That's actually because Bob's in a light trance. That's part of why people pay so much money for Super Bowl commercials and things like that, because when people are really focused and intent on something on TV, it actually helps them produce more alpha brainwaves, and they actually are more suggestible during those time periods. So we get into a relaxed state is principle number 1, and don't worry, you have these all outlined in your workbook. Principle number 2 is you're going to find a core belief that you have. Now, in your workbook, you've got a worksheet of those major core beliefs that I just mentioned in that last module. And what I want you to do is pick the 1 or 2 top ones that affect you most. If you find that, oh my gosh, I have so many of these core beliefs, I feel these ways all the time, don't worry. Just pick the top 1 or 2. As you see these things changing, go to the next 1 or 2. It's normal to have lots of core beliefs that are painful when it comes to like core limiting beliefs, and all of these things can be changed. When I started my own journey, I had like 16 major core beliefs from that sheet. Do not worry, I was able to move through them. You're able to move through them as well. Now, you're going to oppose that positively. So don't say, I'm helpless, I'm not helpless. You're going to say, I'm helpless, I'm empowered, I have control, okay? And what you're then going to do is you're going to look through the different areas of life. And what you want to do when you're looking, and these things are outlined in your workbook, is you want to find 2 or 3 pieces of evidence in each area of life, or just 10 to 15 pieces of evidence overall. This is a really important piece here. We can't just do an affirmation. We can't say, I'm helpless, I'm in control, I'm in control, I'm in control. Why? Remember, that's language. Your subconscious mind doesn't speak language. It doesn't hear English in the same way. We have to speak to our subconscious in the language that it understands, which is that emotion and imagery like we mentioned. When we talk about evidence, so when I say I'm good enough in my career because I have this award, I have this education, whatever it might be, when I'm doing that work, let's say I'm not good enough, okay, I'm good enough because, and we give evidence, what actually happens is our mind retrieves a memory. So I go, I'm good enough because I have this award. I imagine myself that time where I got the award and I'm on the stage, and what do I see? I see imagery, and I feel emotion. All memories are actually containers of emotion. So if I were to say to you, tell me your favorite childhood memory, close your eyes, tell me. You might tell a childhood memory and you might start smiling and your shoulders would open up, because all of memories actually contain emotion. So it's really simple. All we have to do is take that original painful core belief, oppose it, make it the opposite. I'm helpless, I'm empowered. I'm not good enough, I'm good enough. And then we just find pieces of evidence. We're looking for 10 to 15. That's all you're doing for 21 days. And if you can do it in a relaxed state, or in the first hour when you wake up, or last hour before you go to bed, when your brain's kind of like calming down and getting ready for bed, or just waking up and you're more suggestible, this fast tracks the process. This is a game changer. This stuff really, really works. So what you want to do is pick a time where you're going to do this. I'm going to give you an example right now. Let's just say we use the belief together. I'm not good enough. Okay, I am good enough. So then I'm going to pick things in my career. Oh, I have this award. I have this education. I've worked with this many people. And I think of these things and I'm feeling about them and I'm seeing them. If you pay close attention, you think of these memories, they're like little pictures in your mind's eye. And so we are using emotion and imagery to speak the language of our subconscious to start creating these changes. So I might start there, go through a few in my career. Next area of life, financial. Okay, I'm good enough in this area of life because I'm intentional with my money. I'm caring about how I spend my money and how I can also benefit other people with how I spend my money. And, and so I'm giving more examples. And when I'm saying those things, the more specific, the better. So if I can say, when I donated to this charity, and I think of the feelings I felt when I did that, when I helped out this family member, and I think of how good it felt to be supported and how I'm a good enough, family member for doing that. So then I go into mental. Okay, mental area of life. These thoughts and opinions, the stuff that I learn about. Mental is all about your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas, your learning, your mental growth in terms of the things you're learning. Emotional is all about emotional regulation, insight, awareness, connection, all these different things. So I might say in this area of life, I emotionally regulate myself extremely well. I pay attention to my emotions. I don't repress them. And I'm saying all the reasons I'm good enough. And I'm just going through area of life by area of life, thinking of pieces of evidence. And ideally, we come up with new ones all the time. But if we have some repetitive ones, like just a character trait that we repeat and remind ourselves of, as long as you are feeling about it and trying to really feel into it, I'm very hardworking, I'm very caring, and you feel that, then you are moving the needle. So this is the work, okay? So I'm just gonna review this from the top. Get in a relaxed state, pick the core belief you're working on, find the opposite of it in the positive form, find 10 to 15 pieces of evidence why you're in the positive form, not in this old story of yourself as the negative. Feel about it as much as possible, see about it as much as possible by finding the proof. This stuff is like game changing. So think of the traits you have that make you good enough, the things you did, how you showed up, why it's possible to be good enough or worthy enough or free instead of trapped, or empowered instead of disempowered or helpless, and use these references as things to create major changes. Now, we have these core beliefs. I boiled them down. You have them in your workbook. You can just start by circling the core beliefs that show up for you the most. And remember, these are going to be the conclusions you often jump to when something isn't going your way. And then just plug them into auto-suggestion. And do this for 21 days, and you're going to see major changes. Most people find major changes after day 7. They're like, whoa, I started to really see I'm like not buying into this story that I'm unsafe all the time. I'm actually feeling safer. Or I'm not buying into this story that like I'm a bad person. I actually see my innocence in things. Now, in the next module, I'm going to take you through some key concepts that you want to be aware of on your journey. So if you ever are feeling stuck or confused, I've got the answers to the most commonly asked questions. Okay, so here are some of the most commonly asked questions along this process. First question, what prompts can I use, or how can I position these questions to find the answers? So start by asking yourself things like, what makes me X enough, or X in general? X is the opposite of your core belief. What makes me worthy? What makes me lovable? What makes me likable? What makes me respected? And you're looking for, what characteristics or traits do I have? What actions am I taking to move more in this direction as a person? Who am I X to? So who am I good enough to? Who am I lovable to? Who sees X about me? Who sees my likability? Who sees that I'm worthy of respect or love, right? And so you're really looking at it from your perspective and the perspective of others, because it can be a useful prompt to help get the ball rolling. Your mind will naturally try to resist at times. This is because, remember, your subconscious mind is working to maintain that old comfort zone. Don't forget that your conscious mind is the one that we're putting in charge of this, okay? Your subconscious mind might be like, but I am not good enough. Use your conscious mind to speak to your subconscious. Use repetition. Gear up to this over time, because this is your freedom. And the proof is what it takes. The reasons why you're good enough, why you're lovable, that is what is necessary. Now, when you're doing this work, if you're feeling stuck, start general and then get specific, okay? Let me give you an example of this. If you're trying to work on the core belief, I'm not good enough, sometimes it's difficult to be like, I am good enough right away, because sometimes we've had this as part of our identity for years and years, for decades even. And if we're stuck, it's usually just representing how strong this belief is for us, which means it's that important for you to do this work, okay? Because you have that much more freedom on the other side. And we have this mechanism in our brain called the reticular activating system, and its job is to basically be a filtering system. It filters information out according to a few different things. One of them is our beliefs. So if you have this core belief that I'm not good enough, your mind, your reticular activating system, or RAS, is going to be like, oh no, I'm filtering out that I'm good enough. I don't see those things. So it's just going to be a little bit more time to like get the ball rolling. Here's how we do it. You gently ease in over time. We call this start general and then get specific. Let's pretend I'm working on the belief I am not good enough. I might start, instead of going from I'm not good enough to I'm good enough, by saying I'm working on becoming better. Okay, so I'm not good enough, I'm working on becoming better. I am getting better and better each day. Then I might go into my next stage, which could be, it is possible to be good enough. I can see myself becoming good enough. I am good enough. Okay, so see how I broke that up into many steps in between? I started more general. I started with just tiny stretches. This is what we're trying to achieve, a tiny stretch, and you will know it's time to move on to that next step in there, because it will become easier to find proof, and you will feel like you actually are getting some emotional resonance with this. So let's say I'm working on becoming better. Then I start looking for proof, 10 or 15 pieces of evidence across the 7 areas of my life, as is outlined in your workbook. And I might be like, yeah, I totally see that I am working on becoming better. I can validate that. And it's easier to find proof. I'm working on becoming better because in my career, I'm making an effort. I'm speaking up more. I'm setting more boundaries. I'm taking initiative. Okay, in my finances, I'm starting a budget. I'm being intentional with how I spend my money. I'm doing good with my money. Okay, and you'll find these pieces of evidence more and more. And you'll be like, okay, I'm good to move on to the next one. I am getting better and better each day. Pieces of proof for that. It is possible for me to be good enough. Pieces of proof for that. So you're just moving in an ongoing way through little tiny stretches until you have some of that emotional resonance. A couple other things you want to keep in mind, okay? If we're doing all this work on our core beliefs, how I am good enough, how I'm worthy, whatever it might be, but then all day in our thinking, we're not paying attention. And so on autopilot, we keep saying, oh, but I'm not good enough here. Oh, I'm not smart enough. Oh, I'm not interesting enough. Even though we're doing that belief work in the morning, that auto-suggestion work in the morning, if we're not actually being aware of our thinking and we keep repeating these old habit patterns of thought or internal dialogue, then we actually stunt our growth, and it'll make the transformation process a lot slower, because it's like you're taking 10 steps forward with auto-suggestion at the belief level, and then your thoughts are pulling you 8 more steps backwards. So you really want to try to make sure your thoughts and beliefs line up. Like, make sure that if you catch yourself telling that old story of, oh, I'm not good enough, that's why I didn't get this, or that's why I didn't get the call back from someone at a job, a date, whatever it might be. If you catch yourself doing it, cognitively reframe. Just say cancel, and remind yourself of that statement that you're working on. I am getting better and better each day. It is possible for me to be good enough, whatever version you might be on, okay? So don't be afraid to break things down if you need to, and also make sure your thoughts are lining up with what you're working on. Another great thing to do is to question meaning you give to things. Remember, we talked about how those lenses we see the world through are going to create the meaning we project onto things. Don't be afraid to question it. Ask yourself, can I 100% know that it's true, that the reason Bob didn't call me back is because I'm unlovable, is because I'm not good enough? And try to find opposing proof for otherwise. Like, what could it be other than that? Could it be that Bob's busy, Bob's forgetful, Bob's afraid, Bob's insecure, and just try to look for opposing evidence to that story that you might be investing in. This is going to help you a lot, because as we reframe our thinking, as we're not assigning needless meaning that takes things so personally, then we allow this process to speed up. Now, you might have Bob say to you, I didn't call you back because you're not good enough, or whatever it might be. Sometimes we're going to have moments where like a core belief could be true, or something might come up. Research shows it's less than 10% of the time. So be in charge of your thinking. Don't rush to those old assumptions. Really look, really question. Is it really because I'm not lovable? Can I really truly know that? And that's why Bob didn't call me back. Is there any proof for how I am actually lovable? So question that meaning you tend to project onto things. This is so important. And this helps to really line up your thoughts with those beliefs that you're working on. The other thing that I want to mention as well here is the same thing applies with your actions. Let's pretend I'm working on the belief I'm unworthy. And I'm doing all this work to see why I'm worthy, aligning with my thoughts, aligning my thoughts with my beliefs that I am worthy. And then I treat myself like I'm not worthy. I don't have boundaries. I put my needs on the back burner. I don't self-care. I'm treating myself. Like, imagine if somebody you're in a relationship with romantically is like, you're so worthy, but then they never make time for you. They violate your boundaries. They never show up to meet your needs. They're not investing in the relationship. You'd be like, okay, you're saying I'm worthy, but you're not treating me that way. And so that might help to ease some of the pain if somebody's saying nice things to you despite their actions. It's worse if it's negative beliefs about you, negative thoughts about you, and negative actions. But try to just be aware, like, Are my actions showing me that I'm good enough in the relationship to myself? Are my actions showing me that I'm worthy of love? Am I giving myself love? Am I boosting my own self-esteem? Am I showing up in the relationship to myself? Just be aware as much as you can so that you can have everything lining up together. So this becomes your official place to start. Start right now, okay? Don't put it off. Pull out your workbook and just get going on the first exercise. And I want you to think of like, what are the benefits of letting go of this belief? This belief or these sets of beliefs I've had for so long. What are the benefits of releasing these things from my subconscious programs? To feel good enough instead of not good enough, to feel lovable instead of unlovable, to feel free instead of trapped, to feel empowered in my life instead of helpless, to feel strong instead of weak. How does this benefit everything? My relationships, my friendships, my workplace, my relationship to money, my physical well-being, my mental emotional health. And what is the cost of not taking action? If you just let these things be, let them keep running your life, remember your subconscious mind drives 95 to 97% of your behaviors, your feelings, your thoughts, your actions, your subconscious and unconscious collectively. But like, you need to let these things go. This is going to be everything you're looking for to create the changes you want to achieve more of your potential. And so just start right now, pull out your workbook, pick the first belief, and just write 2 to 3 pieces of evidence to oppose that painful belief that's been plaguing you for so long, right here, right now, today. And as you go through this and you start seeing changes and you want to take the next steps, the next course for you that will go much deeper into this and will have a profound impact is the Master Your Emotional State and Reprogram Your Subconscious Beliefs course. Do that course, do a deeper dive into all of this material, how it works, how you can apply it. And this is sort of the advanced version of this course. And then you can take all this information and reprogram your attachment style, change your relationship to your needs, reprogram your relationship to your boundaries. All changes become possible. So thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for doing a deep dive into this with me. I'm so excited to hear about your results. Check out the live webinars that I do every single week, 4 days a week. We get together with the community, or 4 times a week. 2 of them are on the same day. We get together at the community. Super fun time to like go through, learn more, see how this can all apply from many different angles, and do a deeper dive into creating transformation and the thriving life and relationships that you've been waiting for.